How does this sound? Am I coming through to everyone in the back okay? Okay. Pardon? Okay? All right. I'm going to speak to you today for about 15 minutes, and then I'm going to get into some overlays here. And I didn't bring too many magnetic things with me. A couple of things I'll show you that I use quite often. And I'm in the habit of wearing glasses, but then again, with my magnetics, I don't need my glasses so much, but I guess as a habit, I carry them along with me. After the overlays, I'd like to spend at least 15 to 20 minutes in questions and answers. That seems to be what people really like the most. I'm going to tell you today, well, here I am in about 1 hour, I'm going to summarize about 55 years of research, 30 years that I have been doing it, of which 14 was with Dr. Albert Roy Davis, and about 25 years of research he did before I met him. Now, I'm going to tell you some general facts and specific facts. The general facts I won't have a chance to go into a lot. They're for you to ponder and make your own conclusions. The specific facts you can duplicate and use if you desire and act upon. Both the general facts and the specific facts are truthful, based on the evidence and the research that Davis and I have done. And I will say also verified by what I would like to say competent, independent scientists at major universities and all over the world. My research work is with new scientific discoveries that have many independent verifications with thousands of persons over some 30 plus years. Universities, scientists, prestigious scientists, not in universities. Not all our discoveries have been published. I will welcome specific questions after this presentation. Dr. Albert Roy Davis made an initial discovery back in 1936 that magnetism is an energy within itself, two separate and distinct energies. The father of electricity, not the child. These two energies can be applied singularly or in various combinations and methods. I will be telling you things today I haven't said in public before. Do prospects for our magnetic future exist? Yes, they do. Is the outcome important to the human race? Yes, it is. Has magnetic facts important for our survival been suppressed? Yes. I will show you some information on the overhead on this. What is the significance of the recent proliferation of magnetic devices on the market? Should the general public be concerned? Yes, they should. Without a proper understanding of magnetism, these products, a lot of them, can be very dangerous. More details on this later. The increase in magnetic products is also due to a general understanding that last has appeared that there is something important about magnetism that we should, as the public, should look into, regardless of what people with more power and money and interests say otherwise. This increase in these products will continue. What is the significance of the separate and distinct energies of magnetism to life and death, and perhaps even life after death? Universal law works through magnetism. This does not imply it does not work through other means. The two energies of magnetism are the two controlling energies. These are all natural energies. All energy is natural. The two energies of magnetism, I'll repeat that again, are the two controlling energies. This does not mean there are not other energies available, natural energies that function with the controls. If you cannot verify this with a specific application, then you do not have the proper detection equipment. still the result of your application may give you an answer. Magnetism is not a religion, and I have resisted efforts from several large groups to make it a religion. It is not a religion. Magnetism is a natural energy. Universal law works through magnetism. Francis Crick, Nobel laureate, I think he was instrumental in the discovery of the double helix, the figure eights and the DNA. Our work has to do with figure eights too. I'm kind of chuckling over that a little bit. But Francis Crick, Nobel laureate, said that we are a mixture of genes, neurons, and experiences. Well, certainly we are. And a gentleman I heard talk earlier said we are light. Yes, we are. We are also magnetic. We are basically magnetic. All those things go together. You know, quite often I hear different people talking on different things, and we use words as symbols. And sometimes I think, you know, we're talking about the same thing. We're just using different words and different symbols. We're all talking about the same thing. And I'm going to change a little quote that the Three Musketeers used to say, and I'm going to say that we are all in one and one in all. Our magnetic reality is free will, cooperation, and coercion. That is your past reality with magnetism. It is your present reality and will become more apparent in your future as your reality. And I am considering a future common to us of 5 or more dimensions of our existence. When our body dies, the magnetic energy survives. It cannot be destroyed. Magnetic energy, as any natural energy, cannot be created or destroyed. It can only change its form. At the instant time of physical death, there is a definite loss of weight from the body. That is not our verification. That is a discovery made by other university scientists some years ago. I wish I had the quote on that. It's in my file somewhere. I wish I had it to give to you. That's a truism. Magnetic energy cannot be destroyed. It changes form. Magnetic energy has intelligence and emotions in every cell of our body. In each of our cells on our bodily death, our magnetic energy, some of it, leaves our body with our genes, neurons, experiences, our intelligence and emotions, and continues. This is an immortal reason why we should be more North Pole magnetic than South Pole magnetic. I'll explain some of that later. North Pole magnetism, I'll have some charts for you on that, will give you a more peaceful, loving, forgiving consciousness, whereas South Pole magnetism can have you arrogant, argumentative, vicious, stressful, etc. Too much South Pole magnetism here in individual tolerance will kill you. And I'm quite sure it's killed millions of people in the history of our civilization. I'll talk some more on that later. If we can slow down the South Pole energy in us while extending our North Pole energy, perhaps we could live longer. Ah, yes. And the oldest medical college in the United States, the Medical College of Pennsylvania, verified our discovery that we can extend the aging process. Did they publish it? No. They wanted more money to do more research. I'll show you a letter from Dr. Christofalo, who's one of the world's leading experts on the aging process, on his stationery at the Medical College of Pennsylvania. I'll also tell you there's a great difference in just magnets and magnetic instrumentation. That's why I mentioned you can use magnetic energy in different processes and applications and combinations. And we have magnetic instrumentation that works 99 to 100%. I'll show you the independent verified information on that from Columbia University, a pretty good university, and a few others. Did they publish it? No. I'll show you a medical journal report that verifies this. Has it been published in the newspapers? No. I tried 3 months to get the Washington Post to publish it, and I had a friend in Washington. Oh, I didn't tell you a little bit about me. Maybe I should tell you how I got involved in this, so maybe you'll understand a little bit how I have friends in Washington. Before I got involved with Davis, I was a trial attorney. I was a consultant to the State Department in Washington and several administrations. I did work in intelligence in various continents also. My consultation with the State Department was in intelligence, law, and finance. I was a financial consultant to the United Nations and also on agriculture. See, I really wasn't a trial lawyer. I was always doing other things. And I was a consultant to Barclays Bank in London. So I still have some friends in Washington. Occasionally they will let me know something. They don't let me know as much as they used to, though. But I'll tell you, I still have to be careful what I say. Anyway, there's also the danger in not using North Pole magnetism in moderation. You may have a question on this later. I don't have enough time for all the details. In my work, the evidence is clear that we have a life after this life. It is clear that we take with us in our energy what we have become in this life. Now, I am a great believer that religion is a matter of faith. The Bible and religious studies are books of faith. They are not scientific books. However, I must tell you that the scientific evidence that I see in the work that I've done gives me a stronger belief that life does exist after this life. And I want to go on record on that. Magnetism is eternal. I had a couple of comments I wrote down a couple of days ago. I actually wrote most of this last week. As you know, today is a very important day. So. Economics and public common sense is forcing the use to the general public of other than usual therapies. We are all becoming more knowledgeable of other therapies. You may know that medical care is now over $1 trillion a year. It jumped from looking at 1,000 billion as a trillion. In 1 year, it jumped from 800 billion, I guess I got that right, over a couple of hundred billion to over $1 trillion in 1 year. The estimate of what medical care will be in an additional 20 years, and this is by establishment people, is an additional $16 trillion. Now, do you believe that the world economy of this country can continue in the medical care and therapies that they are now using economically, if not otherwise? Think about that. The average large hospital, for comparison's sake, has a $1 million surplus a year, but you find they made an average $10 million in investments when the stock market is way up there. Now, you take away this very high and dangerous market profits now, and you have an average loss of $20 million for each average major hospital. Think about that. Large medical institutions are getting into other than usual therapies. I don't mind mentioning Sloan Kettering. They have said it, for example. Of course, others are too. They now want control of the other therapies. How long did it take for a jury to decide that continual exposure to cigarette smoking can cause serious ailments, even death? How long will it be before a jury will decide that although North Pole magnetism is beneficial, South Pole magnetism can cause serious ailments, even death? I have some good and bad news for you. The good news is we can now locate South Pole magnetism. The bad news is that we can locate South Pole magnetism. Yes, excellent prospects for magnetism exist in our future if used properly, applying the discoveries that Davis and I have made and others that are working with us. Number one, elimination, and I mean this, 99 to 100% of all terminal illnesses, physical and mental. I'm telling you things that we've done work in. I'm not just telling you, oh, this would be great if this could happen in the future. I'm telling you, we've got backups on this. That I have to make that decision. It's the way it is, the way it looks. In the future, have a seat. Have a scan. Maybe the internet, you'll go and put your hand there in the morning when you get up, and they'll rig in your identification, and you might have to plug another button to release your medical information. And then you'll get a scan immediately, and the answer may come not from this country, it may come from Japan or Australia or someplace, but it'll come to you immediately, and say, well, yeah, you got about a 5% problem here, push the other button, you push the other button, fine, in a couple of minutes you're finished, you go ahead and you go about your business. That's the future. That's the future of magnetism. It could be. And it is not unforeseeable. Frankly, I think there's some work going on in that right now. All in minutes, no problem remains. Of course, I used to think we would have special locations in neighborhoods where you would walk in on the way to work. If you were still going to work with the internet, you would sit down, take a scan like that, and while you're listening to the news on your pocket radio or something, and then you would go on. But now, with the way communications is going and telecommunications, I mean, you can do all this right in your home where you live before you leave. Connects with the experts you want. You receive a certain energy charge right through your hand, and straightens you out. Your balance, it's a matter of balance in a way. Your imbalance there is located, and they balance you out. Now, you may have to come back in a week and take another check, see if you're all right. You might feel like you want to do it the next day. It's okay. Now, this is in the future. There's no question about it. It might happen faster than we can think it might. Longer lifespan by special treatment in minutes while you use your pocket TV for the news. Yeah. This treatment could be weekly, monthly. I don't have all the answers to these things yet, but I know I have part of the answers. I know enough of the answers to know these things are going to happen if our civilization survives, and I believe we are going to survive. In agriculture, the genetic seed bank, do you all realize they have an original bank where they have original seeds, and it's being depleted all the time, and most of our seeds are really artificial now. But the genetic seed bank, yes, in magnetism we can duplicate the original seeds used in agriculture. Processes for natural seeds, natural products without fertilizers, increase food production for the world population. That could mean less war. It's amazing how many wars are fought over we need more food. It might be an excuse, but it's true. I mean, need more food for the people. Air, water, fuel, other natural products, more natural and effective for all biological systems, including more effective use of natural energies and power to relieve the world energy problems, more effective functioning on the seas, below the earth, and in space. The increased understanding of humanity and its role and functions with nature and once God, resulting in less crime and more congenial living. control of the wobble of this living entity Earth to prevent the reversion of poles that could wipe out most of our living creatures. The list is endless. Future developments cannot all be foreseen at this time due to future discoveries that will develop new avenues for applications. Now I want to show you some overhead things, and I'm always a person that always has more to say in the time I do, but if you want to ask me some questions when I'm showing the overlays, okay. By the way, if you have any questions on the books, I did write them, and I will sign any of them. And I didn't bring much stuff from my lab, but I did bring a list of things if you're interested in them. And if you want to purchase anything from me, I'll give you a discount of 20% on that. Okay. The two things I carry with me, this is my little medical kit. It's two pieces of magnetic tape that fit together, North Pole energy, South Pole energy. And regardless of what people say about magnetizing water, you'll hear, oh, put it on there for 20 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour, baloney. All I got to do is touch it. It's magnetized immediately. But we say leave it on for 5 minutes or more, and you drink it, and it's real great. Does a lot of good things. I'll get into this a little bit later. Another thing that I've started using quite a bit, of course, you know when you know so much, you probably don't have a chance to do everything you know. And I can really tell people how to take care of themselves better than I can myself. And you know, that's a truism for us, you know. You can always tell somebody else how to take care of themselves better than you can yourself, because you know better, see. Well, these are my magnetic lens glasses. And I always get a little, before I had a try, I had 200 trials about, and I always used to get a little nervous before I had a trial. I always get a little nervous before I have to talk, so I wore my glasses about, I like to wear them 13 minutes, as I was born on the 13th, but not a Friday, so it calms you down. It makes you a little, somewhat more restful. But it has a lot of other good things about it, too. These are all handmade, and this one wasn't made like I make use of. We make most of them, so I use it myself. Okay, these are the two items that I carry with me. Now, I'm going to switch over to the overlays. Where are we, Larry? Thank you, Larry. I'm probably going to see if I get these things right. All right, Larry said this is the zoom. Oh, look at the zoom. There we go. I love Hagar the Horrible. I don't know if you all read him or not. I'll start this off. And Hagar, he's come up with the elixir of life. Can you make more? I'm sorry, our government funding was cut off. I love that. I knew I was going to file this thing up one way or the other. All right, here are the basic discoveries that, here are the discoveries that Davis made that I helped him develop and carry on after he died. And this is the way the magnetic energy is around the Earth, regardless of what you read otherwise. And I'll show you a page where NASA actually verified that and didn't understand what they were doing. They said it seemed like it was just a little bit confused that day or something. But they know that. There's reasons why they don't come out with certain things. Of course, the magnetic energy in the Earth is a magnet. Gilbert, who was the physician to Queen Elizabeth I, first made that statement, and he's quoted, and the Earth is a magnet. And so, but it does not, the energy does not go from one pole to another. It goes in a figure eight. And those figure eights, if you really want to study them, can be triangles. I'll show you something interesting on that. I might be going a little fast. If I am, tell me to stop a minute. Now, okay. Here is a chart. Oh boy. Okay. You've got, you've got North Pole negative magnetism over here. What it does, you've got South Pole positive magnetism here. I would like to get this more clear because you might get the tape and it would help you. I'll read it off. The North Pole negative has a counterclockwise rotation in nature versus the South has a clockwise rotation. The North negative inhibits your behavior while the South Pole excites it. North negative is the healing energy, relieves pain sometimes immediately. Doesn't mean you're over the problem, but it can relieve pain in certain individuals almost immediately, regardless of the pain. South Pole will increase pain. Might fool you for a while because if you're a real strong person, you might not feel that increase of pain right away. It might fool you. You might use it a while before it starts doing some of those other bad things to you. North Pole will reduce inflammation. I'll go down the North Pole side. Produces an alkaline effect, reduces symptoms, fights infections, supports healing, reduces fluid intention, increases cellular oxygen, encourages deep sleep, produces a bright mental effect, reduces fatty deposits, establishes healing polarity, stimulates melatonin function, normalizes natural alkaline pH. The South Pole positive does just the opposite. So let's just say that without going into much detail. At the bottom, it's like you should not be used with people that wear pacemakers. Of course, let's take that as a general rule. We don't like to put magnets over the heart or basically over the brain. And the energy, the magnetic glass, as I showed you here, is only 300 Gauss. We don't believe in putting much more around the brain than 300. There is an MD doctor that used to work with us. We fired him after 6 months. I won't give his name. He sells an item that has about 5, 6, 7,000 Gauss magnets in it. He says you should sleep on them at night. That is very dangerous, and he makes good money on that. You should not use any magnets during pregnancy. That's a general statement. There is some, see, you can get very specific on some of these things, so I'm just giving you some general statements here. There are ways you could do that. And maybe you shouldn't eat or drink an hour before you use magnetic energy. Well, I don't know if that's all that important or not, but as a general rule, it's good. And you should find a medical professional or someone to help you with this. Well, that's going to be difficult, isn't it? Getting more that way, though. All right, I am going a little, hopefully, I do want to allow time for questions and answers. I've got a lot of stuff here, so pardon me if I go too fast. This is out of one of our books. Life depends on negative energy. When you have a problem, when any kind of injury, the negative voltage rises at that location. Healing occurs. If healing is going to occur, then the negative voltage will drop down after that point. Also, this is in the Rainbow in Your Hands, which has a lot of good medical information, even though it talks about the energies in the hands that healers can use to make them better healers. And I have known personally healers like Olga Worrell, who told me I was absolutely correct. Olga was a great gal, and she was tested all over the world by universities. And she told me she got better effect by using the left palm for healing and the right palm for strength. But I want to tell you, there's a difference in healing with your hands and the use of South Pole magnetism and a magnet. It's a difference. You can actually use both of your hands in healing, but I would not advise you to use South Pole in a magnet anytime you can avoid it. It's just the way things are. Now, we have been asked a number of times by people, well, what is the maximum? Because we do not agree that you should sleep on magnetic mattresses. You should not become dependent on magnetism. You don't need to. what you're doing is getting yourself in a better position. Oh, I do have verification on the two magnetic energies being the two controlling energies of the human system. This was based on a diagnostic system that we came up with, which has been verified by probably thousands of doctors. And we in the 70s, we lectured all over this country on that. And it's a very simple device that we have worked into a computer now. There is a way to do it with a magnet, but we worked it into a computer to make it much easier, instrumentation-like, I should say. And the answer, very simply, is that any location where there is a cause effect, just not a result. I mean, you got a pain in your arm, that don't mean it's your arm. It could be your heart, kidney, lung, or something. But any location of your body where there is a cause effect, there is more South Pole magnetic energy there that should be there. And that tells you there's a problem. It's just that simple. And if you bring up more South Pole energy to that location on the body, there's an involuntary reaction because the system is smart. You got intelligence in you, you really have, believe it. And it just don't want any more of that South Pole energy because it knows that's the problem. Keep it away from me. What's the simple answer? North Pole energy. Okay. This is a chart that we got up recently. Can I have back the, there we go, thank you. In other words, there's a maximum on this, even for terminal cancer. And I do have a VCR, it's not the one today, but on my list where Dr. Levy, an MD, talked about his MD friend that used my work at terminal lung cancer, and he eliminated it, and he couldn't believe it, and he went to Sloan Kettering and told them to cut it out anyway, and they said, you haven't got it, and said, cut it, and they went in there and cut it out, and they cut a piece, said, you still haven't got it. So anyway, I'll tell you, MDs sometimes. The maximum is one of our magnets, or equivalent magnet, the same as ours. 1 hour, 4 times a day, and you may use that last hour to put, of course, North Pole energy, over the kidney for 30 minutes and over the spleen for 30 minutes. That's the maximum. The maximum. Pardon? Yes. Pardon? Oh, okay. The university verifications we have show that we get good results. I'll be more specific on the cancer for you. We get good results anywhere from 300 up to 4,500. Therefore, we don't keep any magnets in our research over 4,500. I don't care what these other people say. I'm sorry, we've got our backup on what we say. When you get over 4,500, it doesn't seem to do too much good. On the cancer, and here we're getting into a certain amount of Gauss, and time depends on the individual, and that's where my instrumentation comes in that needs FDA approval, that I can't even keep it where I am. Has to be locked up in another state. Oh, I could show you. I'm going to show you the instrumentation that was verified at universities. I get angry sometimes on this, 40,000 people die every month in this country, lung cancer primarily. Over 1 million people die every month of primarily lung cancer, My instrumentation is 99 to 100%. In 72 hours, half of it's knocked out in 24 hours. I have relatives that died of cancer. I couldn't even use the instrumentation on my relations. You heard me. You all kind of know what I'm facing on that, don't you? I don't have to go in detail. I'll talk to you all otherwise about some of this. Yeah.
Can't you do it in a student experimenting?
Pardon?
Can't you do it in a student experimenting?
Well, there are ways that we can get this over to the public. I have a system to do it. I'm not going to go in detail how that is. The FDA will have no control over it whatsoever, and the public, general public, will know the entire thing. It does take some funds, and I think I have my funds coming this year. I hope I do. Okay. Yeah.
You're basically saying,
I'm sorry. Speak up a little bit. It's either my hearing or the room or something.
are you basically saying that we're, as a
Why don't you step up and tell me that a little bit more so I know exactly what you're saying. I'm sorry,
I'm asking if magnetism is if you're suggesting that magnetism, North Pole magnetism, is a general cure for all ills, and we're basically ignorant.
Well, it seems that way, and it doesn't mean there's not other methods you can use. Please understand me. But it does seem from the research that we have that magnetism is a controlling energy. Now, you know, I can get into some physics here. It would take a long time. Wherever you've got magnet, I don't want to get too much of that. And we're breaking laws. We broke laws in physics and science. There's so many, I don't even know how many. But the idea is you can't have physics, you can't have magnetism and electricity separate. Baloney. Well, that's strange. The electricity is there, but you can't find it when the magnetism takes over. But it's there, see? And then you've got magnetism going in both directions at the same time, and your brain waves are basically magnetic, so the way you think is coming right back to you, buddy. The way you think, the way you are, that's the way it is. At the same time, instantaneously. And the speed of light, oh, baloney. Magnetism goes around the Earth in less than a second. Oh boy, 10 minutes. Whew. This is terrible. All right. Let's go back to the overhead. This is where they came out with some news that magnetic stimulation aids depression and stress, and it just says for 20 years we've been selling these all over the world for that. So the university's just getting wise to it now. I'll skip this. We're going to have our work put in the elementary and secondary schools. Morris Tischler, this would be the book that by Morris Tischler that goes with the work of magnetism and biomagnetics. Morris Tischler discovered the pacemaker. He has many awards in science, and then right now he has one of the largest educational companies in the world, and our work will eventually be in the elementary and secondary schools. So they're not going to get away from it, are they? I'm going to go pretty fast. This is a copy of the head of research, Columbia University, and, pardon me, Dr. Hall, who verified to justify doing a major study of the basic scientific principles involved and to plan animal studies, et cetera, from the work that we did there, verifying cancer. I won't go into details of why that didn't work out. Well, why not? The scientists were all for us. When they got to the Board of Trustees and the lawyers, it was something else. And we went over to Jersey and worked with universities over there. Here's my medical instrumentation. It's a circular device. Now, I'm not going to tell you everything about it. I have reasons. Somebody will try to duplicate it and duplicate it wrong, cause more trouble. It's a circular device. It's a type of system of magnets, speeds in a certain way, and you get a certain frequency. Huh? And this was the control over here. This is a page out of Dr. David Grew we filed with National Cancer Institute. And I'll leave that there. If someone gets the tape, they can read the details, but I don't have time to go through all the details on it. Yes, sir?
What is that supposed to do?
It eliminates cancer, it eliminates cancer cells, sir, in 72 hours or less, 99 to 100%. And I will show you the draft, some of the drafts from the university studies. There is the North Pole energy there. There is the control in south, but I've got a better one to show you than that. Here's a goodie. There you go. There's the North Pole energy. There's the (24 hours), 72 hours. You can knock it out halfway in 24 hours. You've done pretty good, haven't you? This is the part of the study that was out of the study from the universities, which has been duplicated by 5 other universities, by the way. I'm just going to put this real fast here in case you get the tape. You can study it. Because we don't have time, you can see where the differences were. There is the page from Dr. Christofalo, Medical College of Pennsylvania. verifying that we can slow down the aging process or extend it, one of those things. The amount of our work would depend on the amount of monies we're able to raise from funding sources, et cetera, et cetera. See, of course, we didn't have the funds to go ahead at that time. The laboratory is interested in the biology of aging based on the experiments indicated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Very good. Shows some sufficient promise to justify a series of studies of the basic scientific principles involved. We have a copy of what they did. Now, real quick, let me just tell you something on that, because here is the paper we filed with the National Cancer Institute, and they came back and said our people weren't prestigious enough, and they were head of departments of universities like Rutgers and University Medical, State University, New Jersey, people like that. But there's a cell theory that if you can produce more normal, healthy cells, more than the cells that are dying, technically you'll keep living. And that's what we do. We produce, and it's the North Pole energy, not the South. You think the South Pole would give strength, but it's the healing energy, the intelligence in the cells, the natural energy. So the energy goes to a problem, by the way. It knows what to do when you use it. So we produce in our system more healthy cells, which versus the dying cells. So actually, it's kind of hard. We probably slow down the aging process rather than extend it. There's no reason why a human being can't live to be 125, 130 years of age, and that's not just coming from me. A lot of people say that. I'm going to jump a little bit. Here is a copy of our medical journal report that no newspaper will publish. And of course, the first report in there was from the Secretary of Health, and ours was the second, and they still won't publish it. There is and I'm going real fast. There is the first page, which you can scan this on the tape. It mentions, it verifies. Is that clear?
Not in the center.
It verifies the work of Davis and Rawls, it says in there. And we went and did some work in, we had to make some money, so we couldn't do much in medical, so we went and got a toxic waste removal process, which is better, and this is the international journal in England that published our work on that. It's one of the most prestigious journals in the world, and the United Nations is going to use our process all over the world if they ever get funded. We have some sites in this country now. This is a copy of the article done by scientists at New Jersey Institute of Technology. This is the toxic waste. See, this applies to almost anything. I'm putting this on real quick here. You might want to study this. Did I get it right? You might want to study this on the VCR. We found also that people waiting for a bus on Flatbush were getting South Pole energy from an MRI coming through the wall, and if they catch the bus very much, they're going to die from it probably. What can I say? Now, we got a lot of publicity. It's a bad copy in magazines and things on our toxic waste. I get plenty of publicity on the toxic waste removal process, you know. I don't get it on the medical. Yes?
Can you explain why people are having positive results when they sleep on magnets and have both poles?
Say, do I, what?
Can you explain why people do have positive results that sleep on the magnet pads that have both south and north pole?
Sleeping on the North Pole?
Both, no.
Oh.
Sneaky or whatever.
Well, they're going to have, well, that's not really true. We get complaints all the time from people that use magnetic mattresses. And I don't, all right, you do what you want to do. Everybody makes their own decision. I'm not going to touch South Pole. My research can stay away from it. Now, most of these mattresses do have South Pole in them. There's no question about that. The South Pole can be very deceiving to you. It can give you added strength for a while, and I must tell you that FDA is actually, FDA, but they actually charged one company $30,000 for some of the claims they were making on that. But anyway, that's just our opinion based on our research. I won't touch them. I won't touch them. Yeah.
Could you explain to me what the difference is between north and south
Yes, sir, and there is a little misprint, I'll call it that, in my article. Basically, it's a physics thing. Likes repel and unlikes attract. So therefore, if you've got a magnet, if this is a magnet here, and this is one pole in the end and another pole, and you put a string around it and let it swing, then this pole here that is attracted to the magnetic, that's good, 10 minutes, boy. This pole here that is attracted to the north magnetic pole would be the south pole of the magnet, because in physics, unlikes attract. And now if you're using a compass, the compass needle pointing to the north pole of the Earth would be the magnetic south pole of the compass needle. But I must tell you, compass needles are not always accurate. It's not only, it's the results also that you get that tell you what pole it is in the research. It's also the spin in nature it is. There's many other things. And I really haven't got time to go into all the different characteristics. I'll be around here a few days. You want to talk to me about that. There are a number of different characteristics. Yes?
About 10 years ago, there was a company making health claims for reticular energy, which is the straight magnetic lines coming right out of the end of the magnet. Are you familiar with that?
Well, if they say energy comes out of the end of the magnet?
They were selling a magnet with a diamagnetic focusing ring on the end of it.
Yeah.
It would amplify.
Well, I don't know about that, and to be real honest, and this is an honest answer, I'd have to look at it, I'd have to examine it to know, but I am very cautious and very skeptical about so many claims out there. It's just unbelievable. I want to tell you, I mean, we are in research and educational. I don't advertise basically what I do. There are reasons for that. If people write in, I send them information, that type of thing. And I do have my list here that I have brought some lists and things that I'll give people. But you just have to be careful, basically. You don't have to buy our stuff. We have a meter that can tell you, or we can show you if you got a magnet that's marked right, how you can use that to tell what the poles are with other magnetic things. But you don't have to buy our stuff. I mean, you can get a meter to show you, or buy something, or get a magnet that you know is a north and south pole. Then you know the north is attracted to the south, and the south pole is attracted to the north, and you can tell what the others are. But it's very dangerous out there, the way people are selling all this stuff. And frankly, you call it asking a question, they really don't have answers for you. They're just making a lot of money. I'll take another question, but I want to get ahead. Yes, sir.
There are quite a few different groups selling magnetic therapy equipment. Some have alternating north and south poles, and everyone seems to have a different point of view, or slightly different, at least as to the means of it. What I wanted to ask you is, do you have any theoretical justification for why, from the physics point of view, why there is such a profound difference between the activity of the north and the south poles?
Well, I've written 4 books. I could probably write another dozen more on that. I don't know how to answer you in a question or two. I can tell you that there's thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands of people all over this world that have verified that we're right. And you know, I couldn't even talk about it. I'm amazed at the stuff that goes on right now. Why, I'd open up my mouth about some of the stuff I've been doing 5 years ago. I've been put in jail. And I'm still a little hesitant because they know me real well in Washington and different places. Oh, they want me to go to Los Alamos and work there now. Sure. After spending a few $100,000 in the 70s going through trying to get Washington to go and take this stuff, and now, oh yeah, sure. Let me go ahead. I'll talk to you more about that. I can talk more when I got more time and not under pressure. And I'll talk to you after the talk if you want me to. Here's just a copy. Can I go back real quick to the overhead? Here's a copy of our international patent on the toxic waste procedure. We're concentrating a lot on the environment now. I put this in there to show you that we did a lot of work with animals. This was a marine organization in Florida where he talks about all the different animals that have attracted by magnetics, turtles, course, this was back in '85. Now you hear about this all the time. Homing pigeons, sea turtles, whales, dolphins, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all find their relationship based on magnetism. And we did work with that too. Real quick. Real quick, here's where we save the United States taxpayer around $400 million, I think. I'll just make it real quick here. Federal government was always, this went out to some major companies on the magnetic trains they wanted to fund in the transportation bill back some years ago. They've started that up again now. And the United States government, for various reasons, will not state that there is a danger in South Pole magnetism. They have their reasons for that. They don't want a tremendous bunch of lawsuits, and there's other reasons too. Yet they put out information here that there is dangers in various magnetic fields. We want you to investigate. This went to some of the major companies. We got in touch with the Department of Transportation and told them what you're putting out all this $300 million. I think it was $700 million. I'm just showing this. You can read it on the VCR better. This shows you some of the companies. It was actually $725 million, but I think they'd spent $300 million before we got to them. There were some of the major companies they were helping out because they weren't getting their defense contracts. So we got in touch with them and said, why are you doing this? We've got a patent that shows you how to do this. Boy. How to shield, how to keep the South Pole energy away from the pastures and all. Boy, did we get calls. And we got calls from everybody in the world, except the president. Of course, got a call from an assistant chief of staff. He'd made head of the Department of Transportation, but I won't go into that. And so anyway, so in about a week, the government said, we're not going to do any public funding of the mag labs. It's going to have to be up to private funding. So we stopped that. But I think they're starting it up again. Now, I got to show you this. You think the government doesn't know about our work and hasn't known? In 1976, I want you to look at this date, 1976, and signed the same day in 1976 in Maryland at the Naval Ship Research Development Center, where I delivered personally, Davis and I did. I delivered it with our signatures, various different things to the government we want them to look into. To alter the physical property. I have a patent that I can change the physical properties of any material. I can take any element listed on the table of elements and change that element. Think about that. I have interesting discussions with physicists on this. I say, are we making new elements or just making a different form of that element? I can't get an answer. Anyway, this applied to everything, to processes, to new magnetometer they could use in space, to medicine, agriculture, a whole bunch of things. And we spent a lot of money trying to get the government to do various things. I'm going to skip over some stuff here. I want to get to questions and answers. There's another page that came out, U.S. Department of Environmental Protective Agency 75. Hey, we got to get you and Dr. Zingori together for discussions on all these things. Never happened. Zingori discovered vitamin C, you know. He was actually a friend of ours before he died. Here's where we got the American AMA was going to make studies, and they didn't do it. They did not. I didn't expect that. See, we have to go through these procedures, even though we know what's going to be the result. I just want to show you. I've been trying to get this thing over. Here's a goodie. Olin Teague, the chairman of the House Committee on Science and Technology, Senate does not have it. Oh, gosh, it's a fantastic discovery you all done, the difference between a cancer cell and non-cancer cell. Oh, yeah, ought to be real helpful. No help at all after that. You're not going to, I'm not telling you anything new. I just want to show you I haven't sit on my rear end here and haven't tried to do things. And here is where, way back in the 60s, we had verifications from doctors on our magnetic water that everybody says they invented now. Yes, sir. Pardon?
Have you done any measurements as to the use of this North Pole? Does it increase or decrease the pulse rate of the heart?
I've been asked about measurements on magnetic energy that would decrease the pulse rate of the heart. I have an instrumentation, sir, that can take care of all your heart problems, 99 to 100%, and if I use it on you, I go to jail. I can't even use it on myself. These things are locked up in rooms in another state under very close scrutiny right now. I can't even use it on myself.
Can you answer, does it increase or decrease the heart rate?
Pardon?
Use of the north magnetic pole against the body, does it decrease the heart rate or increase it?
You can do anything you want it to do. It can be adjusted to either increase or decrease
How do you do that?
by the instrumentation.
I thought the North Pole slowed things down and the South Pole made things grow.
North Pole, the energy, consider that the energy has intelligence. And the North Pole energy is a healing energy that has intelligence. Therefore, it works on general principles, but it also has intelligence, and if you use it properly, it'll work with you. And my comments I made when I started off talking tonight. It's a very interesting thing. I have seen situations, especially in Russian research that I knew about years ago, where some work was designed in magnetics to using the general principles of some of our work and some they were doing. And instead of following the general principles of nature, it changed and came back and destroyed the people that were doing it because they were going to use it against other people. Very interesting. I have reasons for telling you that there's intelligence in this science. These are just some early letters verifying that North Pole magnetic water is fantastic by doctors, 1960. I'm going to run through real fast here. We had visitors from all over the world. Here was a Japanese delegation came to us. We just couldn't get our work done. Everybody come all the time. Interesting here, one of the people now is a consultant to the Nikon company in Japan, which you all may know is the biggest seller in this country of both energies. They didn't believe us at that time. And the bottom is Dr. Sierra and Dr. Davis. And anyway, I put that in there. People say, did you work with Davis? Yeah, I worked with him. There's a picture of me in the laboratory. And Alan and I doesn't show too well. Agriculture plantings and saying hello to South Korean scientists that visit us. Here's my diagnostic instrumentation. Needs that small. In less than 5 minutes, you can determine the cause of a location. Then you can go spend, that'll cost you $35, $40. Maybe then you can go spend a few $100 MRI and verify it. Sorry. People said, what'd you do, just work with magnets? Oh, we used to make instrumentations all the time. Here's some of the old ones. I've got some old devices, 25 years old, are better than anything on the market. If I use them, they'll put me in jail without approval. I'm serious about this. We're going to get around that. I'm being very frank with you. I'm watching very carefully what I say, and I got a lot of backup, you know. You know, the strength in, the good book says the strength in consultation. And I was told by the deputy director of the CIA, a job that I turned down one time, by the way, a long time ago. But I was told by the deputy director of the CIA after the special meeting we had, trying to explain to them some of these Russian things they were doing, that we better look under our American embassies and see what has been stuck on the water pipes and a few other things. And he said, well, you know, you don't have to worry anymore because, you know, this is a secret meeting, and they're going to know you talked to us. They're going to figure that you told us everything, so, you know, so you got your safety, you know. I was taken off the death list anyway when I got involved with Davis. That was interesting. These are big turnips that our agriculture process made. Gentlemen, I'm going to have to go, ladies and gentlemen, pretty fast here. Here's the front page of Science. Hey, figure eights everywhere, cell division everywhere. Figure eights in nature, as small can be, as large can be. Formation of a planet, figure eight, same thing in a magnet. A natural law is the same wherever it is. In a magnet, anywhere. In the lab, and anywhere. In space, it'd be a natural law, it's the same. Formation of a planet, first figure eight. And it's destruction of a star. I got a better picture for that. That was in one of our first books. the figure 8, how the energies change in the magnet, the same way they change, as small can be, as large can be, and many, many times in between. There's a bar going down the center of the Milky Way like that. Here's a verification that NASA did of the energies going one way and the other way, north and south, and then they said, well, it was a mistake. The closer you are to the Earth, the better you can measure the energies. Here it is. Came out July 10th on the front page of Science News. The death of a star, figure H. The death of a star. All this energy, it becomes so much that the star can't handle it, and it goes into a black hole. And the center of a magnet is a black hole. Where does it go? My opinion is it goes to another existence. I don't like to use parallel existence. It just goes to another existence, another dimension. This is on the most recent, and I have a page out of that which shows a better figure H. Kind of dark, I'm sorry about that. Well, you get a good picture in this one here. Different stages of the star collapsing. Oh, and I wish I'd known I could have brought a color. My last one. This is a picture in color, and the first picture ever made of magnetic energy in color. Davis and I did that, and it's in cables of energy, and I want to show you something here. Each one of those little cables has a triangle in it, and I don't know the significance of all that. I just thought you ought to know that. It's beautiful colors. I wish I'd brought my color thing on it. So there you go. That's a whole mess of stuff there. So if I got any time, I'll take some questions. Maybe I'm getting hard of hearing or something. So if you've got a question, kind of come up to me a little bit. Yes, sir.
In measuring the power of a magnet, if I buy a magnet that'll pick up 100 pounds or 150 pounds of steel, to me I can understand that. You said medical use of a magnet from 300 to 4,500, is that Gauss?
Yeah.
About how much would, say, 2,000
Yeah.
Gauss pick up?
I should say there's a number of ways to measure Gauss in this country. There's 3 major ways that it's done, and the Japanese and Germans have a kind of a different way also. And so the only thing I can tell you there is we use a system which universities say is good, and they would like to have it done this way in the standards, that we measure compared to the 1/2 of 1 approximate of the magnetic energy of the pole, and then we measure the abundance in the magnet we have versus that. That's how we get our Gauss. And I don't know what else to tell you. I have seen magnets, and they're not. People don't lie a lot. I know one time a lady died, and before she died, they asked her, "What was the greatest thing you ever learned?" She'd been in charge of libraries most of her life. Said, "I have learned that people don't lie as much as we think they do. They just repeat what other people have said that were lies, and they didn't know it." And I think that really comes on. I have seen magnets. I have a saying that, the good I do comes to me, the rest I'm just a lousy human being. But anyway, I have seen magnets that are stated to be, say, 2,000 Gauss, and I couldn't even get a reading over 5 or 10 Gauss out of them. And some of these magnetic mattresses that I've checked out, by the way, they got such little magnetic energy in them, it wouldn't make any difference whether you had South Pole or North Pole in them, the way we measure. Now, one of the differences I think is going on here is they measure in the manufacturing, and then they cut them and they arrange them, and by the time they've made the difference from where they first measured them to the time they put them into the public, they're different. I remember checking at one time a dozen of the top magnetic mattresses being sold in this country, and every one of them had South Pole energy in it. Now, I know there's some that don't now. You see, it's a matter of construction. Sir, I hope I've answered your question. I don't know. Any other questions? Yeah, let me go back here somewhere. Yes, sir.
You know, Greg Braden, he talks about the magnetic field of the Earth. It used to be like 4 Gauss constant, and now it's declined to like 0.9 Gauss. That's over some area measurement. If you're using your Gauss reference, is something to do with the standard constant magnetism of the Earth. The Earth is changing.
Yeah, there are fluctuations in the Earth's magnetism. We have to use a 1/2 of 1. There is a 1/2 of 1 steady Gauss measurement. Now that's not really true because the 1/2 of 1 is a little different at one pole anyway than the other. You see, magnetism cannot be equal or it would not flow. All energy flows. And even in a magnet, you say, well, one person might say, well, this North Pole or South Pole doesn't seem to be the same as the other pole. That's right. There's a little difference there because the energy flows. Otherwise, it wouldn't flow. True, there are fluctuations all over the Earth.
No,
And
he said that in
Pardon?
general. He said in general it used to be, it was constant. They have NASA's recordings of flipping poles. They have like 14 cycles of flip north and south, and it was normally at about 4 Gauss, and right now it's declining. You know, and he figures it's, you know, around 2012 or something like that, the Mayan calendar.
Well,
It'll be zero by that
I know,
time.
we've done studies on this too, and with scientists and people and all kinds of scientists. Yeah, the history of the Earth shows that the poles have changed. They're not quite sure whether the Earth has shifted or the poles have changed, but there has been a change, and that's predicted anywhere from like yesterday or 50,000 years from now, so nobody really knows. 2002, you're going with the Mayan calendar, aren't you?
2012.
Pardon?
2012.
Well, that's the Mayan calendar. That's the Mayan calendar, yeah. Yeah, well, they might be right, I don't know. One thing for sure, we have the geological evidence that whenever that happens, most of the life on the Earth is wiped out. Yeah, now we're very close. And it usually happens when it gets down close to 1. You say 4, well, it's 1/2 of 1, or fluctuations. Yes, sir.
I was going to ask, is it true that Dr. Gauss, as he learned to measure the magnetic fields of the Earth, and there was a continuous decline in the power of the magnetic fields of the Earth, and they ran it back, and if it was accurate, they say that Gauss reading would have been somewhere between 40 and 80 Gauss a couple of thousand years ago,
Oh, yeah.
and that we are running down.
Yeah, and by the way, you used Dr. Gauss. You meant that. You meant the Dr. Gauss that lived, didn't you? Yeah, there was a Dr. Gauss that lived and that came up with it's a unit of measurement, like voltage and amp is and all. Just a unit. We don't know what it is. We got to give symbols to things. Talk about a cell. We don't know what a cell is. We give names to it. I hope that doesn't confuse you. Because if I said that when I first came in here, I said everything I tell you is symbols. I don't know really what I'm talking about. You'd all walk out, wouldn't you? We use symbols, you know, for everything. But we have to do that to communicate what we're talking about, you know. So we are light. We're light. We're magnetic. And we're neurons and genes and experiences, and we're a lot of things. We're all in one and one in all. And I sure don't have all the answers because I'm a human being. Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
Do you teach a course in magnetic energy or therapy, and if so, how much? And one more question is, does your research show that the Earth is hollow, like in the Hollow Earth book?
Oh,
Or is it
boy.
solid core?
I knew a gentleman, an explorer, who went under the poles, not Admiral Byrd, that flew over and came back, and some of the pictures he took, you find difficulties in finding them. In fact, there was some evidence published in the Scientific American within the last 7, 8, 9 years ago that by readings they had showed that parts of the Earth were hollow. And I haven't heard anything about it since. Yeah, I think it's possible. I've never been there, but I think it's certainly possible. I think it might be probable. You know, with a lawyer experience, you say possible is up to 50%. Probable is more than 50%. It may be probable. Yeah. Any other questions? I'm sorry, what? Way back there.
If South Pole magnetism is bad for you, are people near the South Pole or in the Southern Hemisphere less healthy?
Real quick, I have a company in Australia that's been treating the Olympic athletes down there. You never get any news here. I got publications in Australian newspapers like that on it. And it's interesting, the Australian athletes mature faster and burn out quicker. And we think it's due to the fact that near the South Pole of the Earth, even though it's small magnetism. Take away magnetism, a human being, they'll die. No question about that. And also, the athletes, and basically the athletes that we treat down there, because we get away with it down there over the years, they react much quicker to North Pole energy than someone up in the Northern Hemisphere. And now you could get into how the magnetic North and South hemispheres have changed. You can go back and look at the civilizations that existed during those changes, and where the North Pole is more mental, the South Pole is more physical, and you find that these civilizations were in those areas. It's very interesting. I'm running out of time, I guess.
Past tense.
The past tense. Well, I've enjoyed this very much. I got over my nervousness a little bit. I'm always nervous, you know. But I know I'm giving opinions on some things, but I have to tell you, the evidence is overwhelming on what I've told you. And it's not just what I or Davis has done. You know, you can do some things that seem fantastic, but you need other people that have credentials to verify it, and we've got that. It's a shame they won't publish it all. They're scared to death, some of them. But we have ways to do this. It takes funds. We know how to do it. And it's out there. It's going to happen because we've got it. It's out there in the journals, I mean. And eventually Sloan Kettering will want to control it. So I have...
The results are in your books, aren't they?
Pardon?
The results of your research are in your books.
Yes, and those books are classics, by the way. And Davis and I were nominated for the Nobel Prize based on the first two books. And then they wanted to know more about our relations with universities, and we weren't even doing much work with universities then, so that went by the board. They are still classics, and they are absolutely correct. The only thing I will say about them, we do say what South Pole does in those books, and that's being a scientist telling you South Pole will do this. But I would advise you not to use South Pole in any kind of medical problem whatsoever. The North Pole has a hidden strength in it of intelligence that will work over a period of time like the South Pole strength will. Now there's something for you. Okay? Okay. Thank you all very much.
Excellent segue. Those books